Aloha class. This is lesson 7.2. This is the Alertor program, and this one is a little bit on the easy side. What we're going to do here is we're going to take our active buzzer and we're going to say bye-bye, set it aside, and we're going to take out our nifty neato passive buzzer. We're going to try to plug it in right here. And I hope I just did that right. So by doing that, we're going to be setting up a little bit of a different system here. We're going to use pulse width modulation like we did in an earlier LED one. And instead of just sending out, I think the last one, the active, this one sends out on about a 2 kilohertz signal, just a constant sound. But with the passive one, we can actually modulate that. So we can have it make different sounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to use PW. We're basically going to use the pulse width modulation, and we're going to be sending out signals. So we'll send out a signal that, it sends out I'll call it a bass. Like we'll start at one pitch, and then we're going to modulate, and we're going to do variations. We'll just go, scaling up and down in a sine wave. So I've gone ahead and I've switched that out. I'm going to go ahead and plug in power here, and hopefully we don't smell any bacon. But now we're going to switch over to our screen. Let me share the screen with you. This is what the code looks like right here. And the code is, let me move my controls out of the way. The code is a little bit on the complicated side because they don't explain anything to you, but essentially we're looking at here, we're setting up pi over here. We're bringing in math because we're going to need to do some math calculations for sine waves. We're setting up button pin 16 is going to be our in. Our passive buzzer is going to be set up on 15 using pulse width modulation. We're going to set up a base frequency of 1000. We've got this alert definition. Let's not worry about it for now. While true, forever, basically, we're going to check the buzzer. If it's pressed down, then we're going to set the duty cycle to essentially 4092 times 2. So a little over 8100. And then we're going to run alert. And when we run alert, what you're going to see is we're going to go up here in alert. We're going to go from 0 to 36. So you see that we're doing math sine. We're going to do we're going to calculate sines here, radians. We're going to get between 0 and 36 here. So it looks like we're going to go from 0 to 360 times pi divided by 180. So we're going to be setting up waves there. Then we're going to say the tone value is going to be 1500 plus integer of sine value times 500. And then we're going to send out that tone value, and then we're going to sleep for 10 milliseconds, and then we're going to loop, and we're going to do it from 0 to 36. So it's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. So when we run this, take a listen to this. I will go ahead and run this program. Oops, hold on. So we've got it running. Now I'm going to press the button. So this is kind of nice and annoying, right? So it's going up and down. Let's play around with our numbers here. And for sleep time, let's try that, setting that to 100 and see what happens here. So we're going to go ahead and stop it and then run it again. Push the button down, and so it's a slow climbing up and down. So we let go of it, and it takes a fraction of a second to catch up with us. But what happens if we go ahead and change that to 1? We're going to stop and run it again. Then we're going to go and hit the button, and I present to you the laser gun. So it's pretty neat, but it can do things a little bit. If you want to kind of play around with that, let's I tell you what. Let's go ahead and stop the program. Let's copy the whole thing here. Wait, not one. Let's put 10 back in there, and I'm going to do a copy of everything here. And what I want to do is bring up ChatGPT. We're going to have some fun here. So let's take a look at ChatGPT, and we're going to tell it, what does the following code do? And we'll just paste in our code. We'll hit enter, and it tells us the Python code is for a microcontroller, likely running on a platform like the Raspberry Pi or a similar device with GPIO capabilities. It's written in MicroPython. So already it knows a lot about what we're doing here. It tells us what we're importing. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Then it goes through and it starts explaining different things about it. So it's pretty neat. It knows that we're using passive buzzers here, and it tells us a little bit about it. So let's say, let's see if we can get it to do something fun. Use this code, but play happy birthday to you. Let's see if it can do something like that. So we're asking a lot of it. Let's see what it does. So to play happy birthday to you using the provided code, you'll need to adjust the alert function to generate the frequencies corresponding to the notes in the song. Here's the modified code, and it sets up the notes and the durations and everything, and it's using our passive. It's set up the duty, and let's see, what about the playing of the notes? So yep, so it sets the frequency and everything, yeah, and so yeah, let's take a look. Let's copy this code and see if that actually works. So we'll go back into here, we'll paste it, and we will try to run it. So let's see what happens. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's pretty cool that ChatGPT can come in here, figure out what we're doing, and then modify code that we already have to set that up. So I encourage you to look at doing things like that. And when you're playing around with code, particularly what I want you to do, let's go ahead and erase all this stuff. But when you don't understand things, like if you find that, gee, this setting up this sine wave and everything is confusing to me, just go and try pulling up ChatGPT and go in here and start a new chat and say, please explain to me the alert, alert function in the following code. Paste it in. And after you paste that in, let's see what it says. So it says, it's a loop that iterates over, 0 to 35. That's right. And it talks about, it calculates a sine wave using the values from the math.sine function. This value is based on the current. Yeah. So it tells you about the tonal values. So then it tells you it's pausing for 10 milliseconds. But you can get kind of context for what you're doing here. And it's pretty neat. It'll give you, if you're trying to figure out what exactly is happening, like, gee, what is it doing in alert there? It can tell you that, oh, it's setting up a sine wave, sound there. And the specifics of, how to do it, the mathematical specifics of it, I wouldn't worry about as much, but it's important to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. So anyway, feel free to use something like ChatGPT, the free version, to try to get more depth on some of the things that you're doing. If you ever come to a situation where you can just paste in some code and say, hey, try to explain to me what's going on over here. I don't understand what's happening here. It can often help you out. So, especially in this code, because the reason I suggest this is because unfortunately, the examples that were given are very light on the actual explanation of what they're doing. So I find it kind of disappointing because there's such a good lesson to be had here, because we've gone from using an active buzzer to the pulse width modulation, the passive buzzer. And it would be neat if they did explain, like, oh, okay, we're going to create sine waves here and do that. Well, if you're doing sine waves, what other waves could you do? We could probably push, put that into ChatGPT if you want, and feel free to try that. If you want to try customizing it in your videos, try that. But anyway, don't be afraid of new technology. Use it to your advantage. Don't believe everything it spits out. Sometimes it can hallucinate, and sometimes it'll give you bad code. And when you do get bad code, you can always go back in and have it. You can give it your error messages, and it will correct itself based on what it sees. So feel free to use this and play around with it, but don't cheat with it. I mean, honestly, cheating is just cheating yourself when it comes down to it. And what we're doing here, the whole thing is for your own edification, for your own learning, purposes. And I want you to come away with this kind of with a good feel for what you're doing. So yeah, so I hope you've had a good lesson. I hope this is fun. Go in there, play around with it, set it up to play different pieces of music if you want. Enjoy, and I will see you in the next lesson. Aloha.